Hello and welcome. Today's Saturday, so I'm just wrapping up my day. It's a little after 10. I wanted to talk about a topic that's really important to me, and that I also feel is really important to any entrepreneur in any industry. Before I get into all that, obviously I can give you guys an update on a little bit of what's been going on at the laundromat itself. If you've been following my videos, you would know that we've been planning a lot of renovations around the laundromat, the bathroom specifically, but repainting and patching all the walls. There's holes everywhere. We're going to be redoing the floors, just restoring them really, and then a lot of other little odd jobs here and there to the equipment. And so I can give you a little bit of an update there and show you just kind of some in-progress work. And it was really great. I got a chance to talk to one of the customers who stopped coming to the laundromat for a long time. One reason being the previous employee really was just really harsh on people and wasn't treating them with respect. Even told me this crazy story how she apparently had her clothes locked in the laundry in the washer. She couldn't unlock it, couldn't get her clothes out, and she went to the attendant and said, "Hey, look, I got these clothes that are stuck in here. Like, can you help me out?" And he was like, "No, I can't help. I can't do anything." And she's like, "Okay, well, can you like call the owner or call someone who can help?" He's like, "No, I'm not going to give you their number. Like, I'm not going to do that," which is just baffling to me. And she's like, "Well, I'm not going to leave here without my clothes. Like, if I have to call the police, I will." And that's what she ended up having to do, is literally call the police to come down there, explain to them what was happening. They got the number for the owner, got in touch with him, and he gave some instructions on how to get, this thing unlocked. But like, just those are the types of things that people were dealing with here at a very popular laundromat, at a potentially very profitable laundromat. And those are the types of things that just drive customers away and just aren't good for the people or the community. And, it kind of all ties in, because we had this conversation I had this other, part of this conversation with this customer, just like, I want people to feel respected here. I want people to see that we are trying to improve this. It's just one part of their lives, but for a lot of people, they're coming there every single week. We want them to have a good experience, and it's profitable for us, and it's just good. Like, you want to do work that feels good, and it all kind of ties in, because Saturdays in particular, I take my two kids with me. They're 6 and 3, and they kind of hang out and help me with little tasks here and there at the laundromat. And a lot of the people who come on weekends, they see them and they know them now. And but they also get to see how I interact with people and how I run a business. And my hope is that one day that they will want to do something similar. And that one way that I can help them with that is to model that for them, and talk through like what we're doing and why, and what kind of business we run. And for my son, he asks a lot of questions, and when I first started buying rental properties, we would explain what the whole point was, what the whole purpose was. And so he understands that we buy these rental properties because they need a place to live, and so they'll pay money to us in order to live there, and in return we'll provide services for them. We'll give them a good place to live. And he understands the importance of the fact that we're offering something to people and not just taking. And so with the laundromat, it's the exact same thing, that he can go there and see these conversations that I'm having with people. He's right there with me. We talk about it as we're driving. Why are we going to the laundromat? Why do we have a laundromat? And explaining to him that we have this because it's a service that people need clean clothes, and we want to provide a place for them to get clean clothes that helps them feel cared for, and that builds up the community, because a laundromat is kind of a staple of the community, and at least it is here. I mean, a lot of the people have been going for 5 or 10 years, and they know other people who go there, or they're the neighbors or what have you. They see what's going on. It's not just talk, that we're really trying to improve this for people. It was just validating just to see that work isn't going unnoticed. And that kind of takes me into really kind of the core of what this video is about, which is how do you balance as an entrepreneur personal life and your entrepreneurial life, which is for most people very demanding. There's this term that I'm sure all of you are familiar with, a work-life balance. And for me, it took and is taking a long time to learn this, but there's even a slightly different perspective that I have on it, that I call more a work-life foundation. And that is, what is the foundation for why I'm doing what I'm doing? And for me, the why of entrepreneurship is even more important than the what or the how, because the things that are part of the why need to be protected. Otherwise, the entire thing falls apart. And so this means the focus really as an entrepreneur should be, what are the things that you're not willing to give up, and structure your life around those things. So for me, I'm not going to be willing to give up my family, my kids, my marriage, for making more money. And the reason is because my vision as an entrepreneur is centered around things that provide for my family and myself. And so if my why is wanting to create this life for my family, which for me personally looks like the freedom to go and do things with more flexibility than would otherwise be possible if I was working a 9 to 5. That means traveling. That means even going to take my kids to an appointment, or just taking them out for the day, or being able to buy certain things that otherwise wouldn't be available to me financially, going out for ice creams or dinners, or taking them to a movie. I kind of think of it from this day-to-day perspective. And so if you think of it this way, if I'm working all day, every day, or not putting boundaries in place where I can turn work off and turn father and husband on, how are those other things ever going to happen? And the truth is, you can't just put a pause on those things and say, well, I'm going to do those things once my business gets to a certain place. Because one of the reasons that we are entrepreneurs or business owners is because we are driven, and we're driven because we're always looking ahead. And so most people, myself included, are not capable of saying, oh, that's enough. Now I can slow down and do these things that, with my family or what have you. No, those things need to be built in as a foundation before anything kicks off. And what that means is you need to consistently have those boundaries in place and establishing those values first and foremost before even determining what you're going to be putting towards your business. And so for me, what that looks like on my day-to-day is I'm, an equal partner in, for example, the morning routines with my kids. I'm not getting up before them and leaving and going off to work someplace and not being involved with the morning routine, which if you have to due to certain circumstances, that's fine. But in my personal life, that's one thing that I wasn't willing to give up. So I'm there getting the kids dressed in the morning, making breakfasts, making lunches, and spending that time with them before the day starts. And I drop the kids off, and right now I head out to the laundromat and I take care of things there. But that's important to me that I'm available there because A, I like to spend that time with them, and B, I'm not going to be putting undue pressure on my wife and therefore undue strain due to, an unequal amount of distribution of the tasks. I'm not above doing those things for them because that's a value that I've set. And same thing goes for when my day ends. So I'm done at 5 just about every single day when it comes to any kind of work. Now, there's sometimes exceptions to that, which are discussed ahead of time, but it's rare because I don't want to be the person who's always making an exception either. So when I say an exception, I mean, you kind of have to quantify that. I mean, that's maybe once every 2 weeks where I say, hey, I'm going to need an extra half an hour or an hour here. And a lot of that comes from that vision I have of being a consistent person in my children's lives and wanting to build into them the things that that motivate me and that I value. And so I can't do that if I'm not consistently in their lives and showing them those things. And then once the kids go to bed, my priority is working on my marriage. Because I mean, really, it only comes down to a couple, let's call it 2 hours of the day after bedtime is all done, where I can spend time with my wife and talk through the business of running a household, as well as, get that connection as in a relationship. And so, this is going like really deep and really personal, but I just really want to establish for the people who are following me and the people who are watching these videos that just the kind of business and entrepreneurship that I promote. There's a lot of people out there that say they're telling you what you have to sacrifice in order to meet your goals. And for me, there's an alternative, and not only an alternative, but I believe really the way that it should be, because there's ways that the reason that we are doing this, there has to be a reason, there has to be a why. And if you're sacrificing the why, then the what and the how, it doesn't matter at all. I know I said that earlier, but I really wanted to establish that's really the key here that I'm trying to push. And as I say that, it's a lot of it comes too from not really seeing that modeled very much in business or entrepreneur type videos on YouTube or podcasts. Not many of them focus on, well, how do you do this as a person with a family? Or how do you do this as a person who's not trying to completely isolate their friends? Let's say you're a single person, but you value your friendships, or you value your family, or maybe you're dating somebody and you value that. Other people need, I talked a lot about how my children need a person in their life. I mean, my wife needs me in her life. My friends do need me in their life. If you're consistently putting those things on hold for your business and not able to create those concrete boundaries, then those relationships are going to suffer, and those people are going to be hurt too. So yeah, I just wanted to take this time to express that it's possible, and it's extremely fulfilling. And I would even venture to say it's not going to slow you down to do these things, because you're really only able to drive forward with the fuel that you have in your tank. And for me, these things, they give me life, and they put fuel in my tank. And at times it feels like I'm being pulled in two different directions. But tension isn't all bad. And the image that comes to mind that I'll kind of leave you with here as I start to wrap up is, some of you may have seen a video like this at some point, but watch any video of somebody who's never tried to drag or pull something with a truck, for example. Let's say there's videos all over, like a truck trying to pull a stump out of the ground or something. And sometimes what happens is they take the chain and they wrap it around the stump, and then they get in the car and they hit the gas. And what they failed to do was put tension on that chain prior to hitting the gas. And what happens is an axle gets torn off, or the stump just flies into the back of the car. That tension was required in order for that process to not implode. And that same tension is kind of what I'm talking about when it comes to creating this foundation for your work and your life where sometimes it does feel like you're getting pulled. But if you can embrace that and you can really learn to thrive in that and realize that it's a good thing, and that you can put concrete boundaries in place in order to satisfy it, that you can really use that to fuel you and to succeed. And so with that, I'll leave you, and thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if there anything you have to add, I'm definitely happy to hear it. You can put it in the comments below. Thanks.